your coaching window was really early in that quarter or that year when you could change and say, your pipeline's got a problem. Those are not the right opportunities. What would it look like if you pursued this persona? You've got a lot of deals where you think you're at this stage and you're at that stage. That was when all those conversations could and should have happened. So that at the end of the quarter, that's just your inspection window. That's just the accountability. Now you're happy with results because you did all the hard work early. You got the hard stuff done first.
Hello. Welcome. And it's great to be here, everyone. My name is Elay Cohen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Saleshood, and excited here to be here with my friend Tanner from DSG Consulting. And we today are going to talk about a topic that it's incredible, right? I think the world has so many salespeople who are all amazing, and the world has so many frontline managers who are okay, right? Who effectively were great reps, great sellers who became frontline managers. But the question is, how good are they at managing? How good are they at coaching? How good are they at developing their people? So Tanner and I'm going to tell you the story of how I met Tanner. We collaborated and we decided, let's run a webinar on how to transform your managers from super reps to super coaches. I love the topic. Thank you for listening in. And Tanner, you want to just say hey for a sec?
Yeah, hey, good to be with everybody. I lead sales and marketing for DSG.
And where are you today?
I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm at the physical office like you. So it's not a green screen. I'm actually here.
Love it. And so thank you again for attending, and thanks for being here, everyone. And thanks for co-hosting this with me, Tanner. And so listen, Tanner and Saleshood and DSG, I got introduced to Tanner and the team a few years ago over at RingCentral. RingCentral is a customer of ours. RingCentral is a customer of theirs. And we did some amazing work together, some work that has helped to skyrocket the RingCentral company, their revenue, their stock price. And at the heart of that work was some change management work around leadership, management coaching, cadence, culture. And so we've had several sessions with the RingCentral team. Sarah Frick from RingCentral has presented, and those webinars are available. But we wanted to go a little deeper. We wanted to actually unravel and unpack this a little bit so folks can really understand, what does it mean to deliver a coaching culture? And how do you truly transform your managers from super reps to super coaches? And so I'm really excited. Tanner's he's a thought leader. He's an expert. And DSG comes to the table with a ton of process knowledge, a ton of templates, and a lot of expertise. And I thought, let's get the expert here to teach us, to coach us, to enable us so we can be better at getting our frontline managers to be the best managers that they can be. So really excited. And just for those of you, that are really excited to learn more, and we do have an amazing offer for you. And so if anyone is interested, after you listen to this webinar, if you're interested in a free consultation, or you're interested in a free software trial, bringing the two together, the best of DSG and the best of Saleshood, we're here for you. More with that at the end. And so with that, Tanner, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and then take it away. How does that sound?
I love it. I'm in. I lead sales and marketing for DSG. I've been here for 21 years, and most of my career is here. So I actually came in as a sales rep, and I was maybe not a super rep, maybe a good rep that became a manager. A lot of what we'll talk about today just resonates for me personally. It feels like my own journey. And then a lot of what we'll talk about today is just watching clients. We've seen clients like the RingCentral story, the ServiceNow, the Panasonic. A lot of the companies that we work with, you got kind of two scenarios, right? You got a situation where you want to scale like RingCentral, and you can't scale if your managers don't have leverage. And then you've got situations where you're trying to fix a problem, and you can't fix a sales problem without the managers changing how they coach and how they lead. So I do think it'll be a great topic. I'm going to share my screen. I may kind of turn it off and on depending on what we're talking about, Eli.
And you've got some amazing slides, folks. These are really world-class when it comes to thought leadership around turning your managers, transforming them from super reps to super coaches. And Tanner, thanks again for being here.
Oh yeah, good to be here. I think that anytime you discuss this topic, you want to start out by just putting yourself in the shoes of your managers. I think it's easy to start saying, hey, there's 5 new things managers should do and ways their identity should shift and what would make them more effective, but you have to start with their reality. And, for sales managers, they often find themselves in a bit of a tornado. And, it's common knowledge. I mean, you can look at any research, any data, even though they're so strategic to driving performance, they're the least prepared and trained for the job. I can just think of so many clients over the years that I've gone in and dug in with, that as you spend time with them and their team, you realize all the money, all the time, all the resources go to making sellers more effective. And the inside team, perhaps maybe a BDR type team, but the managers are the leverage point, and their reality is all this stuff. Their reality is they're doing the reporting, they're trying to recruit the right people, they're trying to get the forecast more accurate. Do I have enough in the pipeline? Getting deals managed, can't lose accounts, on and on. But it's just a crazy world. And for those sales managers that kind of live in that activity and information, tornado, a lot of times their response to it is exactly what my response was when I became a manager. And it's that all of a sudden I find myself talking to everyone every single day about everything. And I'm constantly, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I was just saying, this is amazing. I am, I'm in awe every day of how much the frontline managers and organizations are taking on.
Oh,
like
yeah.
your previous slide, like
yeah.
They're doing the coaching, they're doing the planning, they're doing the deals, they're doing the customer success. Like this is incredible how much is on their shoulders. I think they're really driving kind of all the growth that we're seeing. And so, but we got to make them better. And that's why you're here.
That's exactly right. And it brings to mind, we've got a control systems client with a large management team based in Milwaukee. And as they really began to try to figure out how do you build that coaching culture and that coaching system, they realized, and this feedback that I got from their managers is, look, we're willing to evolve, but you've got to make the job easier. So at the same time, you're going to give us this system and these skills and this framework. How do you make it easier to get the data we need, easier to get stuff done, more support, so we have time to be able to be the kind of leader that's going to have a lot of leverage and a lot of impact.
Yeah, it's great.
So the everyone, every day, everything, I think one of the challenges of that is that you don't have leverage. And there's this concept over the years that we found to be real sticky. And sometimes we'll call it ROSL, return on sales leadership. Sometimes clients will call it ROSM, return on sales management. But it's the idea that as a manager, I'm kind of like a mini CEO. I've got a business to run and I've got an impact that I'm responsible for. And am I getting a good and high return on my sales coaching? Like all my leading, all my managing, am I getting a good return on that? Or am I actually hitting my number because 2 or 3 of my 10 reps have a great month or a great quarter, or a great year, and that's how I get to my number? And so ROSL has been this concept that we just dig into across our clients. And I'll kind of share how organizations think about ROSL. I love that Elay kind of get your feedback and what you see in terms of how organizations measure this. But I think it's just, keep in mind, the topic is sales leaders that operate as super reps, who they're good at closing deals and they tend to attach themselves and dig in on all the right deals. That's when you have so little leverage. So what would be the mindset shift? What would be the way you'd measure it that would be concrete for a manager? Because one thing I'll tell you is, I mean, after years and thousands of managers we've worked with, I mean, to a manager, they love the idea of, yeah, I'm a CEO. I manage a business. I'm a leader. I have leverage. I'm thinking about the return on my sales leadership. Like they really attach to that. They just need the how. This is how some of our clients will think about it. It's the financial return.
Yeah.
On enhanced sales team performance divided by the cost of the manager. And I'd even simplify it more. I would say that for some of our clients, it's as simple as, what's the percentage of your team hitting target? Like, forget, are you hitting target? What percentage of your team is hitting target? Or what percentage of your team is hitting target this year that wasn't last year? That's when all of a sudden you start to see a lot of growth and a lot of impact. Is when a manager sees their identity through that lens.
Yeah. I love that you're talking this way. I think because there's 2 sides to this, right? We want to elevate the mindset of frontline managers and sales leaders so they think about their teams and their businesses in this framework with the Russell framework. And I think it's really great. At the same time, we got to get organizations to appreciate and that the frontline manager, it gets two sides, right? Because if you're going to make me a CEO, you're going to measure me like a CEO, then give me the decision-making power to kind of run my territory like a CEO, right? There's a little bit of a trade-off there.
Yeah, and that's the reason that so many times these initiatives that go well, you're definitely going to have a sales training and an enablement team that's supporting and in many ways driving it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a CRO, a chief sales officer that says, I want my managers to operate that way, I want a system, I want to measure ROSL, I want them to operate like CEOs, it'll never happen. Then it could be good training. You could train the managers, they could learn some new skills, but it'll never turn into what you just described.
Yeah, I love it. Let's elevate the mindset of our frontline managers so they think about their teams and their territories and their businesses just like a CEO. Amazing.
I'm going to get real tactical for a second. Yeah. Sometimes I think it's helpful just to say, okay, what's a really simple concept that for a manager is an example of how you start to break through and they realize how they could organize themselves differently and how they could even think differently about how they coach. And it's just this concept of a coaching window. And so in this model here, kind of think of this is time down here. Yeah. You know, this little dash here could be the end of a quarter, it could be the end of the year. And for a sales manager, the trap is I start to get to the end of the quarter, the end of the year right there, and I get real stressed. And now I'm even more so talking to everybody every day, everything, just trying to get deals done, trying to get things across the finish line, trying to fix problems in the pipeline, but it's too late. You know, at that point, it's way too late. Your coaching window is up here. Your coaching window is really early in that quarter or that year when you could change and say, your pipeline's got a problem. Those are not the right opportunities. What would it look like if you pursued this persona? You've got a lot of deals where you think you're at this stage and you're at that stage. That was when all those conversations could and should have happened. So at the end of the quarter, that's just your inspection window. That's just the accountability. Now you're happy with results because you did all the hard work early. You got the hard stuff done first. But for a lot of managers, it looks so simple, but just them starting to think about, oh, that's how I'm going to do it. Like I'm actually going to think about things like a coaching window, and that's going to be my new lens.
Yeah, and I love it. And I think what you're starting to kind of paint for us is a calendar and a picture of what a week should look like, a quarter should look like, a month, which I think is really, really helpful. Many frontline managers and sales leaders I speak with is like, just kind of give us some guidance. Like when should the coaching happen? When should we be running QBRs? When should we be doing deal reviews? How often should we be doing one-on-ones? Those are some of the foundational things I think DSG has done really well in terms of documenting. And you've helped bring Central, like you said, ServiceNow and Panasonic. And this is why you're here. I think, so keep it coming. I love it.
Yeah, deal. And so another way to, now let's go real strategic and broad. And so like a really broad concept is, I like to call it a sales operating system. Some of our clients will call it a coaching system. A leadership system. At RingCentral, they called it LEAD, and I can't right at the moment remember the acronym, but it was LEAD. But it's a framework that says, hey, as a manager, you got 4 primary things you're responsible for, that if that turns into a system and like a cadence, like you were just saying, and turns into your model, that's how all of a sudden you have these consistent things you do every month, every week, every quarter, that turn into consistent outcomes. And I'll put the text up here. I won't speak to these in detail, but it's just the simplicity of, I plan around deals and opportunities. I manage the health of the funnel and keep it robust and strong. I help drive execution around the specific strategy of time and energy and which accounts, which deals, and I develop the team and recruit talent. And those become 4 pillars that they might be called different things from company to company. Sometimes you might have 5 or 6 pillars, but it's the idea that for these 4 areas, what's the content, what's the tool, what's the training, what's the technology that makes it easy for a manager to actually use this to stop talking to everyone every day about everything and really lead and coach through a system.
No, it's great. I love the sales operating system. And I think these are the pillars. This is it. This is why we're here.
One of the ways it becomes practical is as a playbook, and this is where we teamed up together, Elay, is just how do you put a playbook in action where a manager goes into a playbook and this is my cadence of those weekly, monthly, quarterly. These are my coaching guides. Here's how I assess my team and really once a quarter look for gaps. When I run into different scenarios, what's the best practice? And I know a lot of what makes a coaching playbook even work and the idea of a kit for a manager is when you build it with your teams. Like all those clients we keep mentioning, none of those was it a generic, here's your playbook. It was a, here's what hundreds of B2B companies have done, but bring in the best people from those organizations, top first line managers, top second line, and co-create it, where it's the language of that organization. It goes deep on areas that we need to go deep. We keep it simple where it needs to be simple, but part of how you make it work in your organization is you build it with your team where it feels built by managers for managers. We're not just going to shove it down them and force them to do something that's a generic model. We're really going to tailor it to the world of that team because all organizations are different depending on the part of tech you're in, or your manufacturing, or your financial services, or your professional services. You're just going to have different needs in areas that require depth and require in areas that need to be a lot lighter.
Yep. So how hard is it, right? So listen, you've got a library of templates and they're amazing, right?
Yes.
And these coaching guides. And so then maybe just bridge the gap in terms of level of effort to take kind of best practice templates and then tailoring it to a specific company, to a specific culture, to a specific go-to-market. How much effort is that?
Yeah, let me, I'm going to jump to that concept of a coaching guide and just use that as a sample. So you said template. Right. And like a template could be as simple as how do you run a deal review in a more strategic way? And I'll kind of, this will be the long version of the answer, but like you see here a bunch of questions you can hardly read, but they're questions that are thought-provoking and they create a framework for a much better conversation with a seller. And I always think back, so my manager early on at DSG, he was an IBM, like a first line manager, second line, third line, and then he coached me, managed me at DSG. And he was always direct. Like they weren't always the friendliest questions. he wasn't easy on me. But I remember going into meetings and like I remember one specifically, I came and I created this deck I was really proud of. And it was a presentation on a really important deal, maybe the third meeting in, and you're recommending what you're going to do. But you had that summary slide, and it has the priorities and the gaps and the challenges and the metrics. And he looked at that slide, and his question was, he goes, "Is this what they told you and what you learned from them, or is this just all your ideas?"
Right.
And it's such a simple question, but it's simple questions like that where you go, yeah, I'm not even thinking about them. I'm just trying to make a great slide with priorities I think would be important for any company versus we've learned so much. They've told us so much. I'm not coming back with a smart, intelligent summary of what I learned. I'm just giving them a bunch of generic stuff.
Yep.
It's those kinds of questions that elevate your thinking and take you to the next level. So the answer to your question is we've got a ton of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of getting in a workshop with bright managers and debating and improving and uplifting versus starting from scratch. And that's what makes it go so fast.
I love what you just said, right? So you take all these coaching guides, whether they're for account plans, deal reviews, QBRs, territory plans, and then, listen, anyone can go and Google these templates and find a bunch of different templates. But really the magic is sitting down with the frontline managers.
Yeah.
And then extracting from them kind of the questions that are meaningful, right? And a super simple question I get what you're telling me about why the customer is going to buy, but in their words, why are they going to buy now? Yes. And it just kind of stops a rep and well, wait a minute. Yeah, you're right. Like, let me go back and get their words. And that's a great piece of coaching, right? And then the manager isn't being a super rep, they're empowering.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And
so another kind of thing, just to kind of get concrete about something you said a second ago about kind of the cadence is this is a client that we've genericized, but just think about an organization that has just the VP of sales and then maybe there are 8 to 10 sales managers. It could be a third line. There could be an SVP of sales and a VP and a sales manager. We've seen this, with 4 lines of management. But the idea is of a coaching cadence is, what would that quarterly structure look like of the most important meetings that VP of sales leads, and conversely what the manager leads? And then you're just breaking it down monthly, semi-monthly, weekly, and eventually it's turning into a view of the whole quarter. and you're just saying week by week, what's the world look like? We're not asking you to talk to everybody every day about everything, but there are fundamental meetings that have the biggest impact. If you'll just do those well, that's going to both simplify your world, but it's going to take your ability to impact your team to the next level.
Yeah. So let me add a comment. I think if we can go back to the previous, I think this is a great list, right? So for everyone listening, if you walk away and just take a screenshot or get the slide and just your takeaway is, wow, these are the expectations that we should be communicating and measuring and executing with our teams, right? This is table stakes, right? Table stakes. And please, get your teams to perform better, follow this best practice that Tanner is sharing here. Now, a level deeper and where kind of Saleshood comes in and the work that we've done with Ring and others is each one of these bullets turns into activities. They turn into coaching huddles. They turn into ways that you can measure. So then all of a sudden, if it's true that you're telling your team, hey, as a frontline manager, we expect you to do all these things, you can tell them, then you can give them the guides and the coaching guides and the playbooks. But what you got to go one step further. You got to measure that they're actually doing it. And that measurement is where Saleshood comes in, because we can provide you with a system to bring all these great ideas to life. And then the holy grail, Tanner, correlating it with pipeline, performance data, activity data, so that way you can iterate and tweak and change. Yeah. And that's the secret sauce here, folks, right? I think you need the best practices. You got to get down with the managers. You got to document them, but then you got to do all these other things of measurement and correlation, right? That's the holy grail here. That's what we're trying to get to, Tanner.
Yeah, totally agree. That was well said. And we'll send these slides if you want to see the more detailed view, the week by week. You'll have these.
I love these slides. These are great.
And so the implementation, I think this is an interesting concept to talk about, is just how do you go about deploying it? So you build a coaching system, a cadence, coaching guides in collaboration with your best managers, your best leaders. You get their buy-in.
Yeah.
What does it look like to actually implement it? So I thought I'd kind of share a couple of things and then you'd kind of add to it. We've kind of integrated some of the model of what it can look like in Saleshood and some of the activity. Think about, instead of the big event, so I'm going to bring all the managers together. They're going to get trained for 2 days, and that's going to be it. That's how they learn, and that's how they develop. Think about cycles of enablement where a manager is saying, hey, this next 60 days, we're only going to focus on building pipeline. We're only going to focus on recruiting talent. We're only going to focus on deal conversion. And if that's the topic, just pick one of those in your mind. So one of those topics, you're saying for that topic, there's going to be a live virtual launch that they're accessing in a platform like Saleshood. Yeah. And then they're getting challenges of go do this, learn this, watch this video, lead this session with your team. There's on-demand training. There's maybe second line leaders running a team session. We call it training in a box. There's best practice sharing where people are continuously having a simple way to share what's working with their team, and they're getting certified by some senior sales leader. And that cycle is never ending. You're always picking the next topic, and it becomes more of continuous learning versus we're going to accomplish everything in a 2-day event.
Yeah. No, genius, and big believers in drip learning, in enabling frontline managers to play a big part in developing their teams. And this idea of training in a box, right? Meetings in a box. The idea that you can package up topics, create a library of them for your frontline managers to be able to self-select, right? If they're the CEO, it's not okay to assume that everybody's got to go through the same training every week. It's, hey, they know their team, they know their territory, they know their go-to-markets. I see smiling. They should be empowered with the right content and the right meetings in a box. And what you see there on the left is an example of like a very simple concept. Let's have everybody practice the pitch. Let's have everybody practice messaging. And then as a frontline manager, you want to teach managers how to use this information, right? How do you use a leaderboard like this so you can truly develop your people? And so I love it that you've got it integrated here, but the challenges, the drip learning, the meetings in a box, the certifications, and it all wraps together in the continuous learning and the correlation. Amazing. I love it.
And the takeaway here is, I mean, obviously we've got a model for this, but even if you never worked with us, the big idea that you want to take back to your team is this idea of cycles of continuous learning that are topic by topic. Like it's topic centric.
Yeah.
That's what, because they can only handle so much. If you throw 10 new things in a manager, they're never going to do all of it. But if there's one topic and there's a mandate for adoption and mastery, you can make a lot of progress around a topic, a single topic in a 60-day cycle.
I think it's true, right? So for example, let's take the first one there, building pipeline, right? Like when we talk about a topic and you know, there's so much packed into building pipeline. There is territory planning. There is practicing cadence, practicing voicemails, practicing writing emails, sharing best practices on what emails are working. It's activity tracking, so you can identify which of my sellers as a frontline manager are actually converting their planning activity into conversion data. And that can be done collaboratively at the team level. You don't need to be together. You don't need to be in Vegas. That's an asynchronous meeting. And what we want frontline managers to be better at is integrating these topics with their weekly meetings, right, Tanner? So they're not just going through like a pipeline report and kind of barking down what's going to close when. Let's actually help our teams develop pipeline or be more strategic or whatever. And I love it.
Yeah, I like the way you're describing it in practical terms. Like any sales manager that heard what you just said, they'd be like, yeah, that's kind of what has to happen. Like, can you make that easier? And but that's exactly the world I got to figure out.
Why do you think it doesn't happen as much?
I think you get, for managers, it's back to the tyranny of the urgent. And it takes a lot of thought and work if on your own you're going to figure out everything you just said.
Right.
So either somebody's going to give you a model and the space to do it and the encouragement to do it, or you're just going to lead the way that you have to hit the number.
Yeah.
But you're going to have a partner in that. On your own, few managers are just going to go embrace all that and just make that happen.
Right. Think about the topic, transforming your managers from super reps to super managers, right? I think a lot of the frontline managers out there love them, right? And I partner with many of them, and they've got the toughest job in the business, and no disrespect, but they've never actually been coached and trained on what it takes to lead and to develop and to be and to follow a lot of these best practices. And so they lack the skills, Tanner. I believe that, right? I also believe they lack the tools, and whether it's a system or whether it's these meetings in a box. And then they lack the support. And so that's why we're doing this together, because we're both on a mission, right? How do we elevate the frontline manager industry? How do we elevate that entire segment of the sales world because of the leverage that you talked about? So, so I guess my last point is, everyone, don't assume, right, Tanner, don't assume that your frontline managers got it.
Oh yeah, no, you can't.
You can't assume
unless they had the best manager ever. And like I had a good one. So there were a number of good skills I learned from my manager, but unless you have a good one, like does this really well, you may have just gotten coached by another super rep or someone who's real hands off.
Yeah.
And you never learned any of this.
Yeah. No.
Keep rolling here. I think kind of anything else.
I will. And so what I wanted to show folks is an example of what a library looks like. And so this is the Saleshood Sales Coaching Library. And you can see here, these are some topics, right? So if I'm a frontline manager and maybe we've got a pipeline issue, or maybe we've got a deal progression issue of deals getting stuck between stage 1 and stage 2, or maybe my team is just not embracing storytelling enough, I can pick one of these coaching huddles and then I can assign it to my team. And then I'm going to expect them to watch the videos. I'm going to expect them to do their practice role plays. And then when we come together, we'll see that leaderboard. And that way we can actually see what's going on. This is what the team at Ring Central and DSG did beautifully, right? Yeah. The lead is learning and enablement development, right? And development, learning, enablement, development. That's what the lead stands for at Ring. And so you worked with them to create a library of these coaching guides. And then they rolled up their sleeves and they spent months and months and months training their frontline managers. This isn't something that you can just snap your fingers and it's just all going to happen naturally. Like this is big change management work, and we're here to support and help you scale.
Yeah, agreed. I like how this just turns it into, you're just a click away from everything you need. It's just one click, keep it simple. Don't give me anything extraneous that I don't need. Just give me the essence of what I need to go do it.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to summarize about the Ring Central story?
Well, you know what? Like for those that Sarah's an amazing leader, and and you can see here some of the great stats. What I wanted to highlight was some of the specific coaching guides that you created for them, right? So you created territory planning, account planning, a number of coaching huddles for one-on-ones, team huddles. They even went a step further and they built out social selling training. And they actually, because of the frontline manager work that they did, they were recognized by LinkedIn as the top social selling company, and they've been able to generate insane amount of pipeline. The stats here are a little off.
They were a point in time.
Yeah, that was a point in time. If you look at the Ring Central company, you know, they've 10 to 15x their stock price. They've got attainment numbers off the charts. But anyway, I think it's an amazing case study, and you can easily find there are 2 webinars that I personally ran with Sarah, who's now a director, where Sarah walked us through step by step, showing some of these guides. It's incredible. It's such a great story. Ring Central isn't a huge success by accident, Tanner. And anything you want to add?
Oh no, they availed themselves to the process. You had senior leadership behind it. They even though it took some time out of the field, they put the right leaders in a room to create and debate all the content. Just, you know, a day max of each person's time to really dig into all of it. And they were serious about the post-launch, like, we're going to make it stick. It wasn't just a training kind of optional professional development. It's the Ring Central way. And I think if that's not the mindset your organization has, you'll struggle. But if at the highest levels, people say, yeah, this could be the ServiceNow way, this could be the Rockwell way, this could be the Panasonic way, all of a sudden you're going to have the potential for it to really have that lasting, sustainable impact.
Hey, Tanner, there was a question that came in, which I'm going to highlight right now, which is, so how are they measuring how do they correlate the 5x increase in pipeline, right? And so let me go a little deeper and just explain. So what Sarah and team did was they created these pre-packaged trainings, meetings in a box. They call them coaching huddles. And so if we look at territory planning or we look at social selling, these were coaching huddles. And so they were measuring, you know, a few things. They were measuring, you know, are the reps completing it? You know, are the managers providing the right level of coaching? And so by having a system where you can track activity and enablement activity, you're to think of it as like you're accumulating points, right? So the managers that do the coaching and the reps that do the work, they start accumulating points. And then they were able to quickly see across their geographies that some teams embraced the coaching and the learning and all the work that we talked about, and some teams did not. But guess what? They're able to then easily, they've got Saleshood connected with Tableau, and they've got it connected with their Salesforce system, so they can do the correlation in a matter of a couple clicks. Oh, I love it. There it is. And so they were able to see, well, look at this, the frontline managers that do the coaching, so they're generating coaching activities, the salespeople that are completing the coaching, that are getting the certification, so they're accumulating their learning activities and points. That's activity very easily to correlate to pipeline created, and you can go as granular as you want. You can do emails sent, you can do meetings scheduled. They did all of those. They did pipeline created, measured by opportunities created, and then they did pipeline conversion, so they could measure the pipeline that was self-sourced by the reps, because they got the right coaching from the manager on where to target, which accounts to go after, all that goodness. It had a much faster sales cycle time, and the deal progression just moved a lot faster. And that took quarters to get right, but they did it partnering with the frontline managers. They had complete buy-in, top down, bottom up, and they had to use multiple systems to make it work. But it all kind of looks graphically beautiful. And then they most recently, then Tanner, like something that we just talked about with Ring, was then they created these mini dashboards in Saleshood, and they pushed it to them via email as well. So the reps and the managers were actually seeing real correlation data. So they got that gratification in real time. Look at the training that I'm doing, look at the tools that I'm using, and look at the impact that it's having on my business. Amazing.
Yeah, totally. there was a follow-up on that topic of, so they compared high user teams to low user teams. I don't know the answer to that, so you might.
Absolutely. So most companies we work with and Ring follows these best practices. So they always run a control group. So they'll roll the system out first with a number of teams, and then they'll compare, contrast the metrics that they're measuring with the teams that are going through the program to others, and then that way they instantly get, like, complete alignment, and then they can see what's happening, and then they're correlating, and then they're measuring, then they're doing stack rank leaderboards so they can see which teams are actually getting the benefits and which ones are not. And you know what? It's okay. Sometimes they've learned. Like, I remember talking to Sarah, and they needed to tailor the meetings in a box to be a little more industry specific, to be a little bit more persona based, right? So rather than use data as a stick, they use data to continue to iterate and tweak the programs, and then roll out enhanced meetings and enhanced trainings. And again, all delivered in the hands of the frontline managers.
That's good.
With their teams. Thanks for getting the slide in there. I appreciate that. That was a good ad.
Oh yeah. Anything else while we're talking about the platform that would be worth emphasizing?
I think Saleshood, purpose-built sales enablement platform. It's a system. Teams learn, and then they ramp faster. Teams get coached, and they boost attainment, and then teams sell, so they increase velocity. And then we're correlating all of that. It's the only all-in-one purpose-built sales enablement platform where you can do learning, coaching, selling, and correlating in one system. And we're so proud. We've been doing this for a number of years, and it is driving dramatic impact at major companies like Ring Central and Sage and many Domo, many companies on the planet. And we're looking to hear, we want to help. And if anyone is interested in seeing how this system can come to life in your businesses, raise your hand, and we'll more than happily get you set up with your own trial. But I really want to be clear here, right? I think if you need to solve the problem of boosting the productivity by getting your managers to transform from super reps to super managers into super coaches, right? You can't just buy software and it ain't going to just happen, right? That's why I'm here with DSG. That's why we invited Tanner, because you got to get the process right. You got to get the templates and the guides right. And the coaching looks like rolling up your sleeves, hand-holding the frontline managers, extracting from them the best. And then you plug it into a system that's going to drive the engagement, accountability, impact. And that's what we're doing here today. And we'd love to work with each and every one of you to help you really achieve the same kind of results we've been talking about. What do you want to add, Tanner?
Oh, it's just simple. We have consultants on our team that love to talk about this topic and have done it for scores of different clients. And so if you do want to explore this idea of the consultation trial, it would be as simple as, a series of conversations with a consultant around the idea of the system, seeing other companies' systems, seeing what it takes, sharing ideas based on just the size of your team, complexity, and then being able to bring this to life and go a level deeper into what Elay was sharing and being able to use the platform. But it's about kind of the left side is create the system and train people on it. The right is the platform to sustain it and make it happen. And I think that the connection is why it works so well at Ring Central.
And Tanner, in the consultation, we'll work with you and we'll identify what are your top priorities. And so let's pretend for a second that one of your big initiatives right now is you got to build pipeline, or maybe you got to mature deals faster. The trial looks like this. We'll pick one. You'll pick a few teams, whether it's 5 teams, 10 teams, and we will convert some of our templates into coaching huddles, so that way you can see it in action, and we'll actually make an impact, right? If you got to generate pipeline, you'll get your teams doing territory planning, sending better emails, doing better voicemails, and we can do that in a few weeks, and you can see an immediate lift. But it starts with your priorities, and it starts with a conversation where we can better understand what you're trying to accomplish, what problems you're trying to solve, and then we'll bring the magic of our two organizations together and really drive some material lifts and productivity to your teams.
The one thing you just made me think of is kind of what have consistently been the big ideas for why companies have decided to go even do this in the first place. And over again, these have been the top 4. Like, it's either been a sales performance play that's, through better pipeline development or opportunity conversion, you're impacting productivity. In some cases, you've done a ton of work around methodology and processes and tools and training that if we don't reinforce those and make those cultural, then we're not going to get the results we were after in the first place. We've had a lot of clients at the attrition piece. Like you quit your manager before you quit your company. And if you're losing some of your best salespeople, that sucks. And so equipping managers to invest well in their salespeople and keep their top people is huge for some organizations that are in high growth. And then the implementing a new growth strategy. Your company says, hey, we're going to grow because we get better at cross-sell. We're going to grow because we sell better with partners. We're going to grow because we change our position in the market. Great strategies, but if the managers don't coach to it, you don't get there. But those have been four of the most common. You got to tap into something that's really a big idea for your company. That's what gets all the energy and investment for your project.
It's great. Hey, listen, Tanner, congratulations to you and the organization on all the great success you're having and all the great success that you're helping companies realize. And I did want to just take a moment and thank you very much for being here and sharing. Any final words, just final tips to companies, to people trying to figure out how they're going to transform their managers from super reps to super coaches? Any final tips?
I just think, remember that most managers want to do this. Like there's always this assumption that we're going to have to beat them with a stick and force it. And I find that most managers, they love this identity we're talking about. And it's really about giving them content, tools, training, technology that makes it easier, and just investing in them. But it's not for most organizations, the managers will want to take this journey. You just got to have the support of your senior sales leader and say, yeah, I want a system. I don't just want to hire the best managers and the best salespeople and hope we get there. I want to do this in a systematic way.
I love that advice.
I think we're there. This has been a good webinar.
Amazing. Again, thank you, everyone. And more importantly, thank you, Tanner and the DSG team for the collaboration, some folks behind the scenes that were helping to create the slides and really make this happen. So thank you to our marketing teams for pulling everyone together, and looking forward to more. And I'll say it again, if you're interested in elevating how your teams go to market by transforming your managers from super reps to super coaches, please reach out, and either the DSG or Saleshood will come together to solve that problem for you. And thanks, everyone.
Yeah, good to be with you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Elay.